autopilot features in GTA SA? Can you fly planes backwards? And a DIY tutorial on how to build a full-blown carousel for CJ. Welcome to another video with fun facts, and today I want to start with something very peculiar. During tests for the previous video of the series, something very strange occurred to me. I was sure that it was beta content, yet it happened to me in a version with only minor fixes installed, without any major modifications that would influence gameplay. Now, what is that it? Well, I'm talking about the cut phone calls that CJ receives from his girlfriends. Not just any phone calls, specifically the breakup calls, which are actually a cool fact on their own.
Badass CJ, one-man crime wave, and all-around ghetto store.
I knew it, you fucking piece of shit! I knew it!
Who is this?
It's Barbara, you asshole! I thought you were a nice guy. You said you'd be good for me. You realize how hard it is for a divorcee to find a man? Any man?
Shut up. Listen to yourself.
What? Listen to myself? Listen to myself?
Yeah, always going on about how you damage goods and shit.
You try bringing up 2 kids and holding down a job on your own. That bastard tore out my heart. My heart, Carl.
Bitch, you been heartless from the day you popped out. Bet that poor bastard put up with you for years before he got the guts. Nah, the help to escape.
You bastard! You bastard! I have friends in the force. They'll hunt you down. You're going to jail, Carl. Do you hear me? Jail.
Shut the fuck up, bitch.
In any case, the audio files are still present in the game and are at least somewhat implemented into the main .scm file. Yet I've never received such a phone call while playing. And it's not that I'm just unlucky, it only takes a quick Google search to find information that those calls were cut from the final release. Everything adds up. One of the main reasons which had players interested in this apparently beta feature was that Denise mentions Big Smoke's crack business in her breakup call.
I've heard the rumors about you Grove Street cluckers, about Big Smoke and all. But I thought I'll give this boy a chance. But all my friends were right. Only some bass-pushing asshole would treat a girl like this.
And in the game, we can date Denise before CJ even finds out about Big Smoke's betrayal. So if the phone call were still indeed implemented, it could ruin the plot twist prior to the Green Saber mission. All it would take was for a player to mess up the relationship with Denise before that moment. It was therefore easy to assume that the phone calls were cut precisely in order to avoid such a spoiler. On the other hand though, why not add a simple check, which would unlock the breakup phone call mechanic only after completing the Green Saber? It really wouldn't be that complicated, and it was surely less demanding than erasing 6 brilliant dialogues and an entire mechanic. And now, the best part. Recently, on one of my saves, while I was testing another fun fact, Denise called me and broke up with me on the phone. And yes, it was the same exact dialogue with the mention of Big Smoke's crack palace. I was in complete shock because I was convinced that that existed only in the beta version. Unfortunately, believe it or not, I've accidentally deleted this game save literally like a couple of weeks ago. Classic. I clicked delete game instead of load game, and I didn't realize in time. Luckily, I got it recorded. The phone rang again while I was recording the fun fact about Mad Dog being able to follow us in a vehicle in the Mission Cutthroat business. Take a listen for yourself.
Hey, girl.
Chicken head asshole.
What? Denise.
Don't even think about sweet-talking me, you no-good crack pusher.
What? What you on about, girl?
I've heard the rumors about you Grove Street cluckers, about Big Smoke and all. But I thought I'll give this boy a chance. But all my friends were right. Only some bass-pushing asshole would treat a girl like this.
Now wait a minute.
Can it, Carl? We're over. Finished.
The whole situation became even more bizarre when it turned out that I'm not able to make that phone call ring again. Whether it was before the Green Saber mission, after, with all oysters collected, or without. The call just never came, despite my progress with Denise being on 0%. So I just wanted to ask you, has it ever occurred to you that a girlfriend broke up with CJ on the phone? And why do you think this call is so hard to get? And in general, what do you think about that whole thing? In the mission, The Meat Business, we pull off a massacre in an abattoir in the north of the city. One of the mafiosi who attacks Ken at the beginning is by default armed with a chainsaw. However, as it turns out, not always. If we enter the abattoir while CJ has a chainsaw in his inventory himself, the game changes that first mafioso's weapon to a baseball bat. I wondered what was the developer's thought process behind it. Perhaps something bugs out when 2 peds fight with chainsaws. Maybe some animation glitches or issues with hitboxes. Well, I checked it. Nothing unusual happened. To be fair, I don't really have any other ideas. It's a very weird design. So if you have a theory on that, make sure to let me know in the comments. How do you explain this? In turn, if we go to the room right next to where we start the shootout, we can find a health pickup, which appears there only during this mission. It gets interesting if we do not pick it up and fail the quest. If we return there on the second attempt, everything looks normal at first glance. However, if we, this time, collect the heart, it'll turn out that it's still there. Only after collecting it again does it disappear. So what's the deal with that? Well, the game does not remove the pickup when the mission fails. That means that with every next attempt, the script will spawn another heart in that same spot without deleting the previous ones. Thus, we can essentially stack up those hearts there until we run out of memory. That can be helpful if someone struggles with that mission. The glitch occurs because the developers forgot to add that object to the mission cleanup list. For an average player, it seems obvious that if we fail the mission, then all elements tied to it, like timers, markers, checkpoints, pickups, get removed as well. In practice though, each element like that has to mostly be manually removed by the script creator. If something gets skipped, we get glitches like this one. For contrast, it's worth comparing this with the mission Mad Dog's Rhymes. In one of the rooms of Mad Dog's mansion, body armor spawns. The developers went with a different solution this time. Instead of removing it if the mission fails, they check if the player attempted the mission before. If it's the first attempt at this mission, the armor spawns. If it's the second, third, or any next attempt, the game does not spawn the armor. Now, let me show you how to activate the self-driving feature in GTA San Andreas. First, we need to start a race, whichever you want. Then we type in the cheat code, "Wanna be in my gang," which allows for recruiting any NPC. Then we drive by one of our opponent's cars until it catches on fire and the driver bails out. Then we recruit them, we get back into our car and wait for them to get in. Once they're inside, we continue the race. After a short while, something bizarre happens. Autopilot gets enabled in our vehicle. Right now, on the recording you see, I got my hands away from the keyboard. It seems as if the AI of our opponent, who's sitting in our car, took control of our vehicle and continued the race. We can release the keyboard and the car will still follow the checkpoints on its own. What's funny is that CJ still performs wheel-turning animations, as if it were him who's driving, even though it's the passenger's AI which is steering here. If I were to explain it lore-wise, I'd say that our opponent pulled off a Johnny Silverhand and took control over CJ's mind and body. An interesting side effect of that is that the car's engine is barely audible. What's more, the trick works with the story missions as well, such as Woozy Moo. Maybe it's not the most useful glitch in the world, but let's be fair. A Tesla in GTA SA? You don't see something like that every day, do you? Today, we've really got an abundance of pure bangers. Believe it or not, and soon you sure will, in GTA San Andreas, you can fly a plane backwards. Yes, this is not a joke. As much as most aircraft don't do a very good job at this, there are 2 or maybe 3 exceptions: AT-400, Shamal, and especially Andromeda, the unique plane appearing only in the Stowaway mission. The Andromeda is the best pick when it comes to flying backwards. So what do you have to do? First off, we'll have to take off from a very tall building, which at the same time offers a spacious rooftop. The best spot I've found is the second tallest building in Los Santos. And yes, it's perfectly possible to land an Andromeda there. It's crucial to lose speed by lifting the plane's nose up. Then one can put this thing on the rooftop's floor pretty smoothly. Then we pick a course which doesn't have any tall obstacles, no palms, hills, or especially skyscrapers. Once the plane begins to drive off the building, we must push the left analog down to counter gravity and realign the plane. Then we raise the landing gear and try to get the plane just almost aligned and tilt it only slightly downwards. It's actually more of gliding than flying. The important bit is to keep the plane tilted slightly downwards. If we tilt its tail upwards, our backward flight will quickly come to an end. The smaller the tilt, the longer we'll glide. The plane may attempt to re-rotate back to the proper position, so use the rudder to adjust it whenever that happens. I personally managed to fly backwards for around a minute. Honestly, seeing that on my screen felt like I'd outsmarted the system. First, you land an airliner on a skyscraper, and then you fly backwards for a minute. Pure gold. This game will never cease to amaze me. And that's not the end of fun for today. This next thing is arguably even better. As crazy as it may sound, I managed to build a carousel in GTA San Andreas, almost like one straight out of a carnival. It all started when someone told me that a vehicle can be attached by 2 magnets simultaneously, the one of the Leviathan and the one of the crane at the docks. This on its own is a treat. And then I remembered another cool glitch. If we hit a hovercraft with the bubble cars cheat code on, we'll be able to fly it like a normal plane. So how does one build a carousel with this knowledge? Well, as much as I needed to help myself with a custom script, it sure as hell was worth the effort. We need the dockside crane, an invincible Leviathan with a magnet feature, an invincible vortex, the bubble cars cheat code on, and an additional car to hit the hovercraft in order to unlock the flight mode. First, we activate the bubble cars cheat. We hit the vortex and get in. I did it with the script, and I think that's pretty much the only way, because we'll need to enter the Leviathan later. By the time we're done with the Leviathan, the vortex will be high up in the air already. The Clio cheat menu can be very useful while doing this, because we'll need to adjust the vehicle's positions a lot. Then we attach the vortex to both magnets, the one of the helicopter and the one on the crane. Then we set the length of the lines so the vortex is roughly halfway between the helicopter and the crane summit. Also, the lines cannot be too long, otherwise the vortex will grind against the floor of the container ship with each circle. It's on the container ship where it's the easiest to place the Leviathan. If everything was done correctly, we enter the vortex with a script or a cheat menu, and we simply accelerate. The hovercraft will be pulled by both magnets, thus we'll start flying in circles. Result? An absolute masterpiece of absurdity. I think it's the best image I've seen in this game. I'm sorry, Rockstar. The story, the atmosphere, the world, all are brilliant, but nothing can beat a hovercraft hooked up to two different magnets flying in circles. That's just something unbeatable, especially given how many unique features and glitches were combined for this. Interesting images can also be observed on a basketball court, where it turns out that one can pull off a dunk shot with CJ. Yes, Carl Johnson fits inside the ring. Another oversight appears in the mission Breaking the Bank at Caligula's. At some point, Zero tells us to throw a BZ grenade or tear gas, or God knows what it actually is, down the vent in order to send the two guards at the safe to sleep. And sure, CJ eliminates dozens of armed mafiosi and cops in that mission, but specifically, those two guards had to be put to sleep. There's no way around it story-wise. Yeah, story-wise. In practice though, if we do this quickly, we can actually replace the BZ grenades with the usual grenades and throw them down the vent instead. The game will accept that. In the following cutscene, the grenade we threw will obviously magically turn into sleeping gas again, but the fact remains, the script accepts a usual nade. Then why are we still seeing sleeping gas in the cutscene? Well, the first rule of game design, the game doesn't have to make sense. It's just supposed to look like it does. The vent is just an illusion. When we throw the gas into the vent, the game simply removes that object and spawns in its own somewhere at the ceiling of the safe room. Looks convincing? It sure does. So what if it's a trick no one will ever notice without cheats? What's interesting is that I've also verified other thrown weapons. I mean, perhaps not the sole process, but what I found out is interesting. The C4 and the Molotovs don't work. The mission fails instantly. So it seems as if the game only checks the type of an object that's been thrown down the vents. See, the grenade and the tear gas work similarly. After they touch the ground, they stay there for a bit and then despawn. In the case of the C4, we're the ones deciding when the object despawns, with the use of the detonator. The Molotov, in turn, despawns as soon as it touches the ground. So the script most likely recognizes a specific object class, and the grenade falls into that same category as the tear gas. Hence, this whole absurdity. And now, some of your suggestions. Let's go back to one of the first fun facts we explored in this series, the one about opening the airport gate in San Fierro and Las Venturas without a pilot license. All we need is just to run near the gate, throwing punches, and the gate will eventually open despite our flying skill being at 0. The user, nicknamed LP2Life, suggested a very sensible explanation to that glitch. He noticed that if one somehow manages to get on the tarmac without the required flying skill, the gate will open if they try to leave through it, regardless of the level of the statistic. According to LP2, the game has 2 designated areas on both sides of the gate. If the player is in the zone on the inside, the script opens the gate without checking the player's flying skill. It makes sense. If someone was already on the tarmac, then the guard assumes they must be authorized. The problem is that in San Fierro, and as we already found out, also in Las Venturas, those zones were placed slightly off. When we approach the gate closely and throw a punch, the game falsely interprets our position as if we were on the inside. As a result, the script thinks we're trying to leave the airport, not to enter. Thus, it opens the gate without checking the stat. In my opinion, this theory makes a lot of sense, and it perfectly explains what at first seemed like an inexplicable game's behavior. So yeah, big thanks to LP2Life. The second thing is tied to the fun fact from the management issues mission where we can clone CJ. Someone asked a very interesting question. If Carl is a family's member, is it possible to recruit his clone like a normal homie from the streets? Well, without cheats, it's not possible, unfortunately. The game doesn't allow for recruiting the clone, but he becomes perfectly recruitable after we enable the wanna be in my gang cheat code, which allows for recruiting any pedestrian. Then we can add a second CJ to our posse. And as much as in the terms of usefulness, the clone isn't any better than an average gangster from the streets. I don't know, the sight of two Carls running away from the cops or shooting up a baller block, that's just something no one asked for, but everyone needed. That would be it for today. GTA San Andreas showed us yet again that despite being 22 years old, it can still shock. Thanks for sticking around. Take care and see you soon in the next video.